It's Friday. What's going on? What's going on? Miguel Lloyd, host of Life Full Circle Radio. And as always, we want to say thank you for giving us a part of your Friday afternoon, part of your streaming time, whatever it is you got going on right now. We appreciate you. And so we wanted to jump on today. And you're going to notice that I might be running solo today. You know why? Because the super producer had those babies. So we want to make sure we give a shout out. Let me see if I got the right. No, I ain't gonna try it right now. The applause button right now for the super producer who had her babies. She had two beautiful children. Actually last weekend, because we were away last week, as we took some time, vacation time, me and my family, and we kind of went down to Puerto Rico, all COVIDed up. I mean, all we had our shots, and so we had to worry about COVID, and so we had ourselves a ball down there. We had let the kids play around, kick around in the pool, and all that good stuff. And so so we took a week off, and we took a week off. Kia said, all right, it's cool, I guess I can go ahead and have these babies now. And so so that's what happened last week. And so we want to give a shout out to Kia, give a shout out to Omar and their family, the Shakur family, as they now have two bundles of joy in the family, and we're happy for them. So we're gonna be running solo just for a little while, but I've got a couple of folks who are gonna be coming and tuning in with us today. One person I'm going to have on is going to be my pops. My pops is going to join in. He's going to come in, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Chauvin trial. For some people who may be veterans of Life Full Circle Radio, when we were on Block Talk Radio, my father is a retired police officer, and so he has a lot of experience in that space, for sure. And so we're going to talk to him a little bit about that process, and we're going to talk about his opinion on it. We're also going to talk a little politics today, as we have we got some folks who are going to join us on that part of the show. We're going to talk about his new Georgia voter law, which is bananas, and what's going on with that, and why it is what it is. And so we're going to get into that part of the conversation here real quick. But before we do that, I want to make sure that I drop in. Looks like did I have it in here? Looks like I'm looking. We'll have to pull it back in. So I wanted to show you a little bit of some of the work we've been doing here in the interim. Is that the video? Doesn't look like it is. So we'll see if we can find that video. I want to pull it in because we're going to have a segment of our show in the future called the Black Excellence Alliance, exhibiting Black excellence. As right now, the young lady will have to pull up her name, and here it is when you don't have your super producer with you, but there's a young lady who just voted mayor of St. Louis. She is a Hampton grad. And, so we want to talk about her. There's a sister who is now the acting mayor of Boston as well. We're going to talk about her and the successes that she has out there, what's going on in Boston. And we're going to celebrate Black excellence in every which way we can. So, but, when we think about what is going on right now in Georgia politics, man, and here's the thing too, I want you guys to drop some chats down here in the chat space. We want to be able to pull those in. We want to hear from you guys as well in the course of the show. As that's actually our guest who's trying to call in here. We're gonna pull him in here in just a second. But we're going to we're gonna talk some politics here. And so because this Georgia law is people keep talking about they're doing a lot of focusing on the ID aspects of it. And the ID aspects of it aren't that important. They are that important, but they're not, because most people do have IDs. They have some form of IDs if they're driving, or if they are engaged in some other ways. And so that's not the problem. The real problem with these laws, the real problem with what is going on, is the fact that now they're stripping away the power of state legislatures. They're having the Georgia Secretary of State. They're taking away his power, and you're really putting in a position where no one can really be held accountable. And that's a problem. And so anytime you have an opportunity for there to be any ambiguity, you got issues. And so let me see if my man Gary Flowers, you there, my brother?
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Yeah, we got my man Gary Flowers. Gary Flowers, tell us about, you got your radio show in the Richmond area, and tell us about your experiences, because I know you know this stuff that we're going to be talking about today.
Yes. Well, I'm host of the Gary Flowers Show, weekday call-in talk show, emanating out of Richmond, Virginia, but it may be found on our website of rejoicerichmond.com. So please tune in Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, you also have a lot of experience, and shout out to my girl, Cheryl Wilkerson, who introduced us, one of my old friends, going all the way back to my Clear Channel radio days, 103 Jams in the VA. And I put the clarion call out. I said, I needed to get somebody who understands this politics. We want to dig into the conversation. Now, you're sitting there in Virginia, but I know you're very astute about what is going on in the world, and you've been in this game for a minute. Tell us about what is your opinion on what is going on with this Georgia law. They're also doing it in Texas, and the strategy of the GOP right now.
Well, the GOP is governed and run by wealthy white males, and the history of wealthy white males in this country as it relates to Black people voting is one of retaliation.
Mm-hmm.
One book I would have your listening audience pull down would be one of my mentors, the late Dr. Ronald Walters, wrote a book entitled White Nationalism, Black Interest.
Mm-hmm.
And what he proffered in that book was, in every period of American history when there was real or perceived progress by African Americans,
mm-hmm.
particularly as it relates to the vote, there was swift and certain and even deadly retribution by the white power structure. And there is little to no voter fraud in this country, yet that was the basis for the Georgia law. The Georgia law is based more on Black turnout
mm-hmm.
than the perception or reality of voter fraud.
Right.
And the states across the country, almost 400 bills have been put into the hopper now to restrict voting. It's curious that the American political system, though it decries, unfair elections around the world, we probably have the most unfair elections of a democracy.
Mm.
Because the idea is to suppress votes of people of color and the Democratic Party so as to give Republican legislators a better chance to be elected.
Right.
In 33 states across the country, there's a Democratic majority, yet the congressional makeup is heavily weighted toward the Republican Party. And that has all to do with voter suppression.
And that's something I think that people don't understand. I just want to jump in because I want us to understand what you're saying here. You have a situation where, by sheer population, I had a conversation with a Republican operative here in Georgia. By sheer population, the Republicans won't win Georgia back ever, just because of the city of Atlanta and the larger cities that are here. But because Georgia has the second largest amount of counties next to Texas, they will always have a significant control of state legislature. And so, to your point, right, it is all about trying to control it with the power structure, because from sheer votes, the only way they're going to win is to suppress the vote, right?
Exactly. Which is antithetical to the American promise of free and fair elections. Mm-hmm. That is completely turned on its head when it comes to the Republican Party. They do not want free and fair elections. They want power.
Right.
They'll do anything to get it. So the voter suppression tactics, I'm glad, are being met with corporate resistance.
Yeah.
Because if nothing else, the Republican Party does speak the language of green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so what happened here in the state of Georgia with the pulling of the All-Star game out of Atlanta, you have a situation where they lost, that support from the corporate sector. And this was a big deal because we just lost Hank Aaron this year, and they were going to do a big tribute to Hank Aaron during that event, and they lost that opportunity. And then all of a sudden, the same people who always are screaming about, they want to get so engaged when someone kneels and all of that, but now all of a sudden they want the corporate folks to stay out of politics. You can't have it both ways.
Well, because the Republican Party is also the party of bigotry, they don't really care about Hank Aaron. Remember, there are a lot of people outside of Atlanta, Georgia, that did not want Hank Aaron to eclipse Babe Ruth's Major League Baseball home run record.
Very true.
So that is not a major loss for them, but it's more telling, Brother Miguel. Let me break it down for you. When George Wallace, as governor of Alabama, years ago said segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever, he was standing in a schoolhouse door.
Right.
Governor Kemp, who stole the election as governor from Stacey Abrams 2 years ago,
that's right,
said almost the same message. His message was, we would rather stand our ground than take $40 million from the Yankees. And he said that because Major League Baseball is headquartered in New York City.
Yeah,
and he was appealing to the Confederate ideology of we'd rather starve than take union money.
Yeah, you know, the thing about Governor Kemp, and if you guys are listening right now to my guest, Gary Flowers of the Gary Flowers Show out of Richmond, Virginia. Make sure you check him out in Richmond, or I'm sure you can check him out online on the website. But, you know, people believe that there's some people here who believe that Kemp is really not that bad. You know, until
who believes that?
You'd be surprised.
Nobody I know in politics believes that.
You be well, not so much in politics, but as far as in the business community, there's some people who thought that Kemp is a relatively reasonable Republican, but then
but just a point on the speaker there.
Go ahead.
When you say relatively reasonable Republican, on what scale? Ronald Reagan, who we thought was the second coming of Satan, would not fit into today's Republican Party.
Yeah.
The entire Republican electorate has shifted so far to the right and to bigotry that it's almost unrecognizable by a Republican.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. But yeah. So as we look at what is going on, right now, what do you believe is going to be the strategy that the Democrats are going to use right now in the near future? Because this is not stopping. When you have the situation in Georgia and Texas, it's just going to continue to grow.
Well, here's the big picture, and I cite you another book by former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. entitled "A More Perfect Union." We have to radically reform the entire electoral system. The fact that states under the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution can control federal elections is antithetical to the idea of a federal election.
Right.
And so we have to eviscerate state control first. That's one strategy that the Democratic Party, because they're so really conservative, have not taken up in full, but it's needed.
That's going to be hard.
And yes. And so the first step toward that is having the state constitution reformed and revised so that the